Okay, this morning we're in Plymouth, Massachusetts. A lot of people recognize the structure just beneath me. That is Plymouth Rock right there. By tradition, this is where the passengers of the Mayflower landed in 1620. I'm taping this in 2020, so it's the 400th anniversary. Today we're just going to focus on three of those passengers, Myles Standish, John Alden, and Priscilla Mullins. So one reason I wanted to start here in Plymouth was, by legend, John Alden was the first passenger to step off the Mayflower onto Plymouth Rock. There's a lot of legends about Plymouth Rock. You see the big crack there. A lot of stories to tell. At some point we'll come back and look into that a little bit more. All right, still in Plymouth here. This is a memorial that marks the first burial ground here in Plymouth, and on the front side there are the names of the passengers who didn't make it through the first year. I was just going to point out a few of them here. So down at the bottom is Rose. She's the first wife of Myles Standish, and as you come up is William, Alice, and Joseph Mullins. That is Priscilla Alden's family. All right, unfortunately it's raining today, very cloudy, overcast. If you look over there, that's Captain's Hill in Duxbury, and the little part that you see sticking up right there, that's the Myles Standish Monument. A lot of times you can make out the statue if it's a little clearer, but we're going to be heading over that way in a minute. So this is the Myles Standish Monument. It's up on top of a hill here, Captain's Hill. I guess he was a captain, Captain Myles Standish. The gates are closed now. They're supposed to be open in the summer, and you're actually allowed to climb the tower, but I've never got a chance to do it. So I'm gonna walk up there, take a look. All right, so they started building this in 1872, and they didn't finish it till 1898. And one of the interesting things is it took so long. There's two different kinds of stone there. You'll see it's kind of two-tone up there. It's something they have in common with the Washington Monument, which also had to stop being built during the Civil War. And if you ever take a close look at it, it doesn't quite match as it gets up to the top. So if we could climb it, there's 115 steps to the top. You see over the doorway are all the New England states. And then kind of along here, I think these are all the counties in Massachusetts. Hampshire, Hampden, that kind of thing. So there's a little parcel of land tucked here in the back of the Nook, which is a section of Duxbury. This is where Myles Standish lived. There's a marker here. There's another rock there, and there's some markers in a rectangle where his house was. So yeah, this stone essentially says the same thing. I think this stone is older. They did an excavation here in the late 1800s, and the house is marked out by those blocks here. And you can see there's a little depression where they dug. The person who did the dig, I believe his name was James Hall, and I believe he was a descendant of Standish. What's important about the site is that this was one of the very first organized archaeological digs in the United States. So sure, these are all private beaches, but the homestead site is actually owned by Duxbury, so it's okay to come here. Around the corner here is Standish Shore. Over there is Sakewish. See some paragliders just having fun. Right straight ahead of us is Duxbury Pure Light, and in between that there's some salt flats right now, and there's so many birds hunting right there, but you're not going to be able to see them. So coming back here to the far end of the homestead site, you get this great view of Duxbury Bay, and there's one more marker to see, and this is the site of Standish Springs. This is where his well was. The book that I had read to do some research here said the water was still good, so it says this was plugged up in 1851. I guess it was an older book. So just one more quick peek at the view here. It's really beautiful. It's low tide right now, so that sand is really thick. I went out there a little bit to explore. A couple sandpipers, plovers, what have you. All kinds of footprints over there. Right, so this is the Alden house in Duxbury, and this is actually a later house. They originally thought the Aldens lived here in this house. It's been in the family for generations, but they found a site over in the woods here, some place between here and the middle school, and they think that's the actual site of their house. So this house here could have used some of the wood or the material to be built, but they think it's later. All right, so it looks like there's a trail to the actual first house site, so we'll go check it out. So it looks like it's pretty close, actually. Point two, the trail is really well laid out. I was worried I was going to have to go searching in the woods for this thing, but looks like it's a little bit easier than I thought. So similar to the Myles Standish home site, basically we just have a roped off area here where the house was. So they marked out the cellar hole here with some string. It's actually pretty well defined. What they think is that they use some of the building material from this house to build the newer house, which is through the woods over there. Okay, so this is Duxbury. This is the old burying ground. It's billed as the oldest maintained cemetery in the United States. Most of the early settlers of Duxbury were buried here. So one thing you're not going to miss if you come here to the burial ground is Myles Standish's grave, marked with these 4 big cannons. These cannons came from the Boston Navy Yard, and Myles Standish, it's a marker for him here in the middle. These 2 pyramid stones are what originally marked the grave, and they did a couple excavations here to determine whether or not it was really Myles Standish. And in his will, he said he wanted to be buried between his daughter and his daughter-in-law. It might be the other way around. But that's what they found here. They found an older man and 2 women, and they were pretty sure with those 2 little stones that this... So when you come up over the hill here from Myles Standish, we're going to go into the back corner there. And that's where the Aldens should be. This is what I believe is the oldest stone in the burying ground. This is Jonathan Alden, and he is the son of John and Priscilla. And if you step back, that's kind of the area where they think that they're buried. So these are the markers for John and Priscilla. These are later, I think around 1911. So this is the marker for John Alden, 1687. This is the marker for Priscilla. It doesn't have a date on it. So this here is a marker for George Sewell, and he was another passenger of the Mayflower. He died around 1679, they think. So some of the older stones here have this skull with a Medusa-like pattern, and those were done by Ebenezer Sewell, and I would guess he is a descendant of the Mayflower passenger Sewell. Okay, so one quick look before we leave Duxbury. This is a really old postcard book I picked up the other day at a flea market, but it has a bunch of pilgrim stuff in it. There's John and Priscilla there, and Myles Standish Monument. Anyway, the one I was looking at is the Standish House, and I think that's still standing there, but it's, I think it was down a private road. If you look in the background, there's the Standish Monument right there. In any case, the reason I bring this one up is because Myles Standish's children married John Alden's children, and supposedly they lived here in this house. At this point, they think this house was built later, but as far as a rivalry with the Standishes and the Aldens and that whole thing, you know, their families intermixed and married, and they have a whole bunch of descendants together. So it makes for a good story, but, you know, in reality, they all moved to Duxbury and they all lived together. And, you know, I think they had pretty good relations. Look at the Alden houses. That ivy wasn't there when we went there. Anyway. So if you're coming down 58 in Halifax, you might see this sign, Famous Legs Monument. It's right around the corner. The Myles Standish statue was hit by lightning in 1922, and they had to rebuild it. And the legs ended up in a Quincy quarry for a lot of years. And when they found them, they weren't sure what to do with them. So they ended up here in Halifax. And they're donated back here. So this is what kind of inspired the whole trip, coming down here. I went around the corner. I just talked to the curator, and I just gotta say, if you do come here, it's well worth it to talk to the curator. All right, so this is Myles Standish's legs in Halifax, and I'm here with the caretaker. He's going to tell us a few things about it.
And right out where those two telephone poles are, next to that house.
Okay, so you can see the monument that way?
Go up in the air, right, exactly.
Okay. All right, cool.
It's facing east. Now the lightning bolts, let me get on the other side.
Yeah.
So you can show where it hit here. The lightning bolt came down like a Frankenstein's hand, like a hand with fingers. Certain fingers went on the left, certain went on the right. Disarmed him, you can see where it's still burnt, and took the charter and took his head. He's burnt on the whole back of his neck too. That's why.
Again. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Tell me about that.
Well, like the caption here says, this is the little girl. They lived down by the monument at Miles View Drive, and they were the first. They were there, you know, when the lightning hit. The Standish Monument, Duxbury, Mass, was struck by lightning in 1922. The shaft, 116 feet high, was slightly damaged, and the statue of Myles Standish, which surmounted it, broken. It was replaced in 1926. And this is another picture. This is why we know the head is intact somewhere. Now this family had the summer place in Duxbury, but they lived in Ipswich.
Okay.
So we really think it could be in a garden on the North Shore, because you see it's intact.
Yeah.
You know, no one
So
would
it's
just break it
somewhere.
out. It's somewhere.
Somebody has it.
And whether it's at the Peabody Essex Museum, we haven't been able to figure that out yet. But
All right.
it happened on the 50th anniversary year of the laying of the cornerstone. And as the Indians explained to me, you know, the charter wasn't worth the paper, it was parchment it was written on, and so to disarm them. And for years, it was kind of they were very happy in a revenge sort of way, because here's Myles Standish in half, standing in Montponset, which is the heart of Plymouth County. Geographically, the heart of Plymouth County, if you look at a map. Matter of fact, we used to have signs on both ends of town that would say, "Welcome to Halifax, the heart of Plymouth County." So to have him back in half in the heart of Plymouth County. But what's nice about it is in the last 10 years, it's become a healing ceremony. Every Thanksgiving night around 7 o'clock, we light a special torch, and we have several of the local indigenous folks come by. We say the Our Father in Wampanoag. We play a very dramatic Boston Symphony. We gather together to kind of close the Thanksgiving, day in a nice way. But as far as the healing goes,
So I came back to Plymouth, and this is on top of Coles Hill. This is a marker for National Day of Mourning. You know, the caretaker back at Myles Standish's legs brought up a good point in that, you know, Thanksgiving isn't necessarily a day of celebration for everybody. This whole pilgrim, Native American, all that kind of stuff is much more complicated. There's King Philip's War, which really affects the whole region and stuff, and it gets really messy. And I'm just kind of glancing over some, quick things about Myles Standish and Priscilla and John Alden, but there's a lot deeper history here, and I don't want to, take it lightly. All right, so we're in Cambridge now, and this is Longfellow Park, just outside Harvard Square. Right in front of us is there's a monument to Longfellow there, and in the background, you probably can't see it very well, is a yellow house. That's where Longfellow lived for a long time. So this is a closer look at the Longfellow monument. If I'm not wrong, I think there's a copy of this bust at the Wayside Inn over in Sudbury. The frieze in the background features characters from his famous poems. Over here on the right, you'll get Myles Standish. Right there is the village blacksmith, Spanish student, Evangeline, Hiawatha. Okay, so the reason I want to end here at the Longfellow Monument is Longfellow is this, I don't know, he's kind of a nexus for all these connections. Basically knew everybody. Like I said, the house over here on Brattle Street, this was also George Washington's headquarters during the Revolution. The frieze behind him for the village blacksmith, that's another person that lived right here on Brattle Street. The sculpture itself is Daniel Chester French, and if you go to Stockbridge, there's Chesterwood, check out. So we're stopping here because we'll probably start here some other time. Anything you want to find as far as the trips and stuff leading up to this video, check out the hashtag Finding Myles Standish. It'll have some more history and there'll be some more write-ups there. And thanks for tagging along.